SBO is the best.
Let's lock in. This topic is basically the flip side of what we looked at in 3.2.3.1. So in this video, instead of talking about how activity helps you, we're looking at what can happen when someone is sedentary. Remember, we briefly mentioned what it means to be sedentary in the last video, but we're going to look at it properly in this video. And then we're going to link that to obesity and body types, aka somatotypes. So for the exam, you must be able to define sedentary and lifestyle, put them together to describe the consequences of a sedentary lifestyle, define obesity and explain how it affects performance and health, and define and apply the different somatotypes, so endomorph, mesomorph, ectomorph, and give sporting examples and justifications. All right, let's dive in with some definitions you need to know. You need to know what it means to be sedentary. I need to know what lifestyle means. As you can see the definitions on the screen. And then when you put this together, you get sedentary lifestyle, which is a routine where a person regularly does little to no physical activity. So basically low levels of physical activity. Remember to always give definitions in exam questions and then apply to a sporting example. Now let's talk about the consequences of a sedentary lifestyle. So AQA gave a clear list actually, and you need to know the consequence and be able to explain the link. So let's start with weight gain / obesity. If you're sedentary, you often burn fewer calories. So if your energy intake is higher than the amount of calories you're burning or higher than the energy output, over time this can lead to weight gain and potentially lead to obesity. Next, we have heart disease. So physical inactivity is linked to poorer cardiovascular health, and over time, this can increase the risk of heart disease. Next, we have hypertension, which means high blood pressure. Being inactive can contribute to high blood pressure, which puts extra strain on the heart and blood vessels. Next, we have diabetes. So a sedentary lifestyle can increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, which is linked to poor control of blood glucose levels. Next, we have poor sleep. Regular physical activity can help to regulate sleep patterns. So if someone is inactive, they may experience poorer sleep quality. Next, we have poor self-esteem. Being inactive can affect confidence and self-image, especially if a person is feeling unfit or dissatisfied with their health. And we have lethargy. Lethargy just means feeling sluggish, having low energy, and being tired. Inactivity can reduce energy levels and motivation, leading to you feeling lethargic. Now let's look at obesity. We're going to look at its definition and how it may affect performance in physical activity and sport. So as you can see on your screen, here is the definition of obesity. Keep it simple. So you just want to talk about excessive body fat. That's the key phrase. Key phrase you want to use: excessive amounts of body fat. Now let's look at how obesity may affect performance. You must be able to link this to fitness components as well. AQA lists 4 main performance impacts, and you should be able to explain them using fitness language. First, obesity limits stamina / cardiovascular endurance. So extra body mass means the body works harder to move. This can reduce cardiovascular endurance, so performers may feel tired sooner. For example, in long distance running, an obese performer would probably fatigue earlier due to higher energy cost of movement. Next, it limits flexibility. Excessive body fat can restrict joint range and movement, so your joints can't move as freely as they would if you had less body fat. And this makes it harder to perform movements requiring high levels of flexibility. So an example, in gymnastics or martial arts, movements like, for example, kicking in martial arts can be harder if your range of movement or range of motion is limited. Next, it limits agility. Agility is changing direction quickly while maintaining control of the movement. Extra mass can reduce speed and the ability to change direction quickly, and also maintaining balance and control of the movement. For example, in basketball, having quick cuts and pivots become harder if you have extra body fat and extra mass. Next, it limits speed and power. So more mass to move can reduce the speed at which you move and also reduces power output relative to body weight. For example, sprinting acceleration or jumping height may be lower if you are obese. So for 6 markers on this section, you want to hit all 4 of these things we have spoken about and also add sporting examples. Now let's talk about obesity and ill health, looking at both physical and mental, but also social health, because we want to look at the 3 pillars of health. AQA want you to talk about broader consequences. And again, don't overcomplicate, just state them clearly. So starting with physical ill health, some physical ill health effects of obesity, we have cancer, heart disease, heart attacks, diabetes, and high cholesterol. Some mental ill health effects of obesity, it can lead to depression and loss of confidence. And finally, some social ill health impacts of obesity, it can lead to an inability to socialize and an inability to leave home. Remember to keep it factual and sensitive, because when talking about this, you're just explaining the impacts. Now, let's talk about somatotypes or body types. Somatotypes are categories that are used to describe body shapes. Most people are actually a mix of different somatotypes, but AQA want you to know the 3 main types and apply them to sports and positions. Let's start with an endomorph. So typical characteristics of endomorphs, they have rounder body shape, higher body fat percentage, and can gain weight more easily. Sport links, so good examples you can use are sumo wrestling because it gives them a mass advantage, or even rugby. Next, we have mesomorph body type. So this body type has a muscular build, broad shoulders, narrow waist, low to moderate body fat, and has a lot of strength and power. Sport links, you could talk about sprinting, rugby, boxing, gymnastics because of the strength and power demands of those sports. And we have ectomorph. So typical characteristics of an ectomorph body types, they are lean and slim, have narrow shoulders, narrow hips, lower body fat, and often have light body mass, so they often don't weigh too much. And sports links, you could talk about long distance running, cycling, climbing, high jump, and things like that, because being light helps in these sports, in this type of sports, because it helps with endurance, efficiency, and they don't have as much weight to carry, so they can last for long. So you always want to justify the sports demands when you are linking these body types to sports. However, even though there are these different somatotypes, be warned that somatotypes are not your destiny, right? Because training, diet, and lifestyle can change the body, can change body composition. So in exams, you can always add that although somatotypes describe typical body shapes, many performers are a blend of different somatotypes and can also adapt and change through training. Now let's look at how to answer a somatotype question properly. So for example, if you're asked, identify the most suitable somatotype for a marathon runner and justify, a top answer would look something like this. You would obviously identify an ectomorph and then justify with the demands of the sports of the marathon. So you can say something like, low body mass supports cardiovascular endurance efficiency, less weight to carry over long distances, and can also aid with heat regulation. And you can also give an evaluative statement or a balancing statement by saying something like, however, training and conditioning are also key. Alright, that is it for this video. Like with a lot of the topics in this course, it always helps to do exam type practice questions, because that's what you're actually going to face in the exam. You can learn the theory and the facts over and over again, but there is a specific exam method that you need to master. So if you want to do more practice questions, check out our platform www.superpeonline to get high quality resources from Super PE Online, the best PE platform in the world. See you in the next video.